So since that time, I'm also pleased to report that I've had the chance as a member of the Rules Committee, and as a freshman, this class of, they call us the majority makers, as a freshman member of Congress, to lead a fight to establish an independent ethics commission. Because I think it's a worthwhile investment and, in fact, a necessary first step to positive policy for the people, to make sure that it is their interests that are always motivating the actions and the votes of those in Congress. And as I said, we've made some strides. We raised the minimum wage for the first time in a decade, giving hardworking folks out there a raise that was richly deserved and needed. But we know there are far too many who are still struggling and squeezed by these tight times. And I have been active in fighting on the front to create economic opportunity for our area and our communities, working to invest in access to college education. We have expanded Pell Grants so that more people who are related to you right here in this room and listening at home will have the chance, and their children will have the chance, to access that education that they're going to need as we head out and try to compete, and we will compete, in this increasingly global market. And I have stood up to reform our trade policies because it's a false decision that we are either for trade or we're against trade. Trade isn't costing us jobs, but bad trade policies and bad trade deals do. And I think that rather than just continuing that debate that has gotten us not too far, we need to get about fixing the policies so that they will no longer leave our workers and our businesses at an unfair disadvantage. And as I said, I'm a freshman, and I will tell you on that work on trade and standing up for jobs right here in Northeast Ohio, I'm proud to say that the U.S. Business and Industry Council gave me their Fighting Freshman Award. And I have to, yeah, thank you. Okay, we're going to deduct my time, so. But I have to tell you that that award was special not only because of what it stood for. If I don't tell you this, my husband Doug, who's here with me today, would be disappointed. It was actually not only a plaque, but it was a pair of boxing gloves. And I have that hanging on my wall in the 13th Congressional District office. I invite you all to come and visit. And it's a stark reminder about why I'm there. I am there because I want to be the voice, and I am the voice of the people of the 13th Congressional District. You gave me that opportunity, and I take it so seriously. My opponent talked a little bit about my background, but you know, for those who know me, let me just restate. I grew up the youngest of 6 kids from a working class family in Barberton, Ohio. My dad worked in the Boilermaker factory every day of his life. And my mom, she worked at the city library. I have 4 older brothers who I think prepared me for what sometimes is the rough and tumble of politics, and an older sister who is probably the reason why I survived childhood. In my family, we didn't have a lot of luxury, but we always had enough. And we always had the promise of the middle class. And my parents worked hard, and I do believe that we need a government that works with people, with families like the family that I grew up in, to give us a chance at restoring the American dream. And every policy and every action and every vote that I cast in the U.S. House of Representatives is in pursuit of restoring the promise of the American dream, whether it's through access to education, access to health care, actions to revitalize our economy so that it works for the middle class. With that, I'm going to reserve the rest of my time, but again, I thank you so much for the privilege of being here, and to those in the 13th District, I thank you so much for the honor of allowing me to serve you.
Thank you, Congresswoman. Dave Potter, you have, I believe, 7 minutes left.
Thank you, Dan. Sorry about that. You know, 2 years ago, this seat was an open seat, most of you probably remember, and there was a lot of money spent by both sides of the aisle in trying to win this seat. And at that time, the previous opponent did a pretty good job with endorsements from the different papers, and I went into this knowing that I didn't anticipate any. I guess the one thing I have going for me is the fact that he didn't get too many, or he got a lot of endorsements and lost, might give me a pretty good shot. But I'm sure the Congresswoman will talk a lot about her endorsements, or perhaps she won't. She takes great pride in those on her website. You should check it out. But I'd like to talk about a few of those endorsements, because endorsements do mean things when they have good criticisms to go with it. If you look at what the Aurora Chronicle said, basically about the bailout itself, she voted against the initial plan, but later voted yes for what she thought was a better bill. Unfortunately, we thought the bailout, warts and all, I think we all agree there's a lot of warts right now, was necessary, so did Sutton. The plain dealer, in their endorsement, which noticeably is absent from her own website, she decided to kind of just take it off of the site. We wish she would show more independence from organized labor, notably on trade issues. We talked a little bit about trade just a moment ago. The Akron Beacon Journal also an endorsement for her, yet the criticism bestowed. This editorial page has disagreed sharply with Sutton on trade matters, especially her narrow protectionist impulse. The Lorraine Morning Journal. Our views on a number of policy matters are more conservative and even flat out opposite Sutton's in some cases, but she is receptive to our message. My question is, does the Congresswoman, with due respect, get the message? Interestingly enough, on that Lorraine Morning Journal endorsement page, the editor also had an editorial on Senator Obama, who that paper chose not to endorse for the President of the United States, instead went with John McCain. But it was interesting because the quotes they said about Obama were the following: "That bothered us because neither of us fully trusts Obama, and neither of us wants to see the country take a sharp left turn toward European-style nanny-state government." Another quote: "Obama, I think, does not love that America, and he would, with the help of a willing Congress, do all he could to irrevocably push the country into the socialism that has enfeebled Europe and it would enfeeble the United States." And a final quote: "If voters open the door for Obama and his like-minded friends, the debilitating social and economic changes they enact would essentially be permanent. This would no longer be the America into which we were born and entrusted to preserve as the last best hope of the world," end quote. The Lorraine Morning Journal is not quite a right-wing paper, and I think that they make some comments that are very, very important to point out here. Thank you. I'm concerned that Congresswoman Sutton is the willing type of a congressperson that is going to allow this country and its agenda to go way too far left than where we're at today. It's great we do have family values, and I'm proud of my siblings, including the one that loved me the most, that was struck by a car and killed on New Year's Eve back when I was only 15 years old. She made a major impact on my life, and I was proud that my parents chose to decide it was an accident and not to file a lawsuit. Life has changed since 1977, folks. It's all about me, this type of a world. It's all about me. And these are the types of agendas that we need to stop pushing. The Congresswoman talks about restoring the middle class, restoring the middle of the class. Now, some of you may have been aware of last night the Congresswoman was in New York City attending a fundraiser that was put on for her by a gentleman by the name of Jeff Linford. Now, a lot of people say, "Dave, you're just too new to politics. Why are you even getting into this thing?" And you're right, I'm new, I'm naive. I'm trying to understand, though, for a guy that's new to politics, that didn't bring a lot of money to this campaign and hasn't certainly raised much at all, I'm proud to say, why is a Congresswoman from the 13th Congressional District out on 5th Avenue in New York City last night at a fundraiser being held in her honor in arguably the most richest zip code area in the country, and probably the world if it wasn't for the United Arab Emirates country? Why is that? I don't know. Maybe she can help us out. And the fact of the matter, I do believe I have some suspicions on some factual information that we're happy to provide at the end of this meeting for anyone, the press or whatnot. Mr. Linford works for a data resource company that provides information to major banks, Bank of America, GMAC, Freddie Mac, Fannie Mae. It's all documented. The Congresswoman talked about in her voting not for the bailout that she wanted to make sure that we had legislation put in place that was going to restore the hope of the middle class. Then when she voted for the bill, she said that exactly is what happened, and that's not the case. So she did say the bill was not perfect, and I think we all have seen over the last 3 weeks that that's the case. It's not a perfect bill. In yesterday's plain deal, the Congresswoman made some comments about the National City Bank situation here, saying that it is terrible that we've allowed the Department of the Treasury to have such unilateral ability to choose which banks are going to be helped and which banks aren't going to be helped, and she believes that there needs to be some congressional oversight on this Department of Treasury. Well, her vote